Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Speak and Grow Rich podcast. Today we have Michelle Pippin. Hi, Michelle. Welcome.
Hey there, so excited to be here.
Yay, you guys are going to learn in today's episode how to profit fast, not profit slow, but profit fast, and also how to get cash, certainty, and consistency. So, Michelle has been in business for a really long time. She's a real heavy hitter. She's also the founder and the creator of Women Who Wow, if I didn't already say that. And I want to welcome you, Michelle, and tell us a little bit about how you got started in business.
Yeah, actually, it was a total accident, and I don't want to speak too poorly of myself. I didn't even realize I was in business for a couple years in, right? So, I am then and now married to a public school teacher, and I had a young baby, and I was pregnant with my next, and I just wanted, and this is no reflection on anybody else's like decisions they make with their children, but I really wanted to be at home with my kids, right? My oldest is 24 years old though. So this was a gazillion years ago in online business terms. And I just wanted to stay at home and raise my kids. But we had $213 in savings. And back then, like you heard rumors of people who had like worked from home, but you didn't actually know anyone who did that. And so I just, on a passionate whim, I quit my job and with the goal of somehow like making money from home. And that first year, I invested $50 to start my business. And I made $63,000 that year. It was my Anything for Money's tour. I know this will be funny to people who are watching in 2023
Yes.
when we're recording this, but I actually billed myself as an at-home secretary because the term virtual assistant had not been created yet. So that's when I kind of got my start into business. After that, I got a little official. I started an HR business with a partner, and that made a lot of money. And I hated the work though. And I did a brief stint as a life coach. And the problem there is I was a fantastic marketer and a really horrible life coach. So I got found out to be not a very good life coach
Oh,
very quickly. And but it turns out like my gifting is really into business coaching and strategy. And that's where I've lived ever since then. And I eventually started that organization you mentioned, Women Who Wow. And I just wanted there to be a place for like this seriously driven woman entrepreneur, the woman who's like killing it, the one who isn't going to settle for mediocrity, the one who is like really wanting to just strain her potential until it cries for mercy. And I just didn't see a group for women like that. And so I created it and grew it by print invite only for 18 months. And now we've got members in every state and 7 or 8 countries that I have to double check. And I do count Canada as another country in addition to the US. And
yes.
it's just been growing leaps and bounds. And I've had a lot of fun mentoring women in that capacity.
So exciting. So, how did you get really good at business? Where you
I
said
think
you're a really good marketer. How did you get really good at marketing?
so. I think naturally I had some skill in marketing, right? I've always been a hustler. I was that kid who, when the what's it called? The Babysitter's Club, was that the
Oh,
name of those books?
yes.
Yeah. And so I would read those, but I was like thrilled when Scholastic came out with like the business guide, right? For
Yeah.
like, and how to put together your little box and go and pitch yourself as a babysitter. And I would cut lawns when I was a kid. I would babysit. So I've always been a hustler. When I was in college, I would write papers for people and charge them. So I've always been that person.
Yeah.
When I started out in business, I think I naturally had that skill. And also, there were lots of things I didn't consider, like building a brand or business coaching really wasn't a thing back then. I didn't consider what I looked like or what people might think of me. I had a service. I offered it to people who might be able to buy that service, right? And so there was a lot of gunk I didn't have to go through that business owners now are going through. So I was able to go direct and I was unashamed that I needed money, right? Sometimes, you hear like some of the sharks on Shark Tank, they like to invest in a broke entrepreneur because we don't really care, right? Like we will go and we'll ask anything because we need to get that next sale in. And so I think there was some natural ability and then some desperation at the same, because I didn't have, I mean, $213 in savings like that. I'm serious about that. That was what was in our savings, right? And so we had no credit, like nothing to fall back on. So I had to make sales. And then I started studying the greats in marketing, like Gary Halbert and Dan Kennedy and Ogilvy and like all of the greats. And I started just studying because I enjoyed it, right? Like what kind of wording made people say yes faster. And, I just started going into that realm and learning direct response copy. And the reason that I want your viewers to take note of that, I guess, is, the internet has kind of made us a little bit of lazy marketers, right? Because it doesn't cost us anything to put up a blog and put it up there. And we feel like we've done something for the day. But the truth is, back in, 1998 and 2000, like, marketing cost something. You had to buy the list, you had to print the sales page, you had to put the stamp on it. So every word mattered. And that's where I really cut my teeth in actual copywriting. And so that's how I got good, because, we would test like one headline against like the same headline, but with one word changed, right? And we would, we tested, we measured, and that's how I really learned how to market when it was costly to do so.
That's amazing. Were you in Dan Kennedy's, No BS circle?
Oh, sure, absolutely. From
There were
forever.
like, yeah, and there were very few women in that. Yeah,
That's right.
that I love Dan Kennedy. So if you're watching, go follow him and buy his books. Would
Yeah,
you
he also
recommend
has
one specifically?
he has a Dan only event coming up in July of this year. And Lee Miltier is a great friend of mine, and she is interviewing him. And it's going to be a multi-day event in Cleveland, and it might be his last one. So I
Wow.
encourage people to go to that.
Fantastic. Okay, I love it. So what has been your biggest mistake in business?
Oh my gosh. It's crazy because I'm a smart woman, right? So intellectually, I'm smart. And so that means that I can play a lot of head games with myself, right? And the biggest mistake I've ever made in business, I've made mistakes that have cost me a lot of money, right? Like one time I had this event that I was planning in Maryland, and I ended up having to cancel it, and I had to refund all these people that it was like a nightmare, and it cost me tens of thousands of dollars. But the biggest mistake is all the times that I have played head games with myself and pretended that I was being wise, that I was holding back out of like some altruistic wisdom of like my kids were young, or whatever, like always holding myself back. And when I look back at what I regret, the times that I could have had my foot on the gas, and I pretended, and I told myself a story that it was wiser to hold back and wait. And I tell you, it's like that's one of the we all have our thing, right? Like we all have the same kind of gremlins that come back and haunt us, and that's it for me every time. And I realized that while I could, justify it to myself, well, your kids are young, and you know what I'm saying, like all this stuff,
Yes.
it was always me playing small. The result of that like argument was me playing small, me holding back. And is there ever a good time to play small as a woman? I just can't. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like I just played head games with myself, and
Mhm.
by far that was the biggest mistake I've made, not just once, many times.
Thank you for sharing. I know you're not alone. I had the kid card. Don't play the kid card.
Yeah,
And it is, I like what you're saying, it's in your head, but I feel like men don't have that as much as women do, because we do have the responsibility in this role to take care of the kids and the house and the family and manage everything. And so give yourself a little grace. You're here now.
yeah,
You've got that foot on the gas, and it sounds like you were quite successful, even though, but I get it when you're saying I could have been further along. So
absolutely.
what is it? How do we profit fast? It's the summer 2023. People don't want to be profiting slow. How do we profit fast?
Yeah, I tell you, like I really believe in speed. Whether it's like with weight loss, or speedy engagements, or money loving speed, right? I mean, I really believe in
Yes.
speed fundamentally. And I have had even times when I've literally believed in speed, and I've barely held on to my driver's license as as a direct result.
No.
But with money, it's like with business, um to profit fast, you've got to be clear and direct, right? And so, and that means that you've got to kind of put your blinders on. So you and I were talking before you started pressing record, and there's a lot of like stories about business slowing down in the summer months, and you don't want to promote in June, and you know, you can kind of expect a lot of pushback or slower sales. And the truth is, there are still people buying in June, just like they're buying in January and they're buying in August or October. The thing is, we need to be clear and direct about who we're selling to, what problem we're solving, and why they should come and say yes to us right now, right?
Yes.
Again, if you are a lazy marketer, you're just kind of putting the offer out there and you're not really directing it to a certain avatar or demographic, right? In general, I don't really believe in avatars so much. Like I have a hit list is what I say. And depending on where you are in your business, like I always have a hit list of 50 people. If I have a new product I'm going to offer, I'm going to have a hit list of 50 people and I'm going to directly email them even to this day and invite them to say yes. It just is like priming the pump of a well, right? Like I grew up very rural. So like I had to like pour water down the well and then use the pump to get it out. And so I want to prime the pump on sales. And so clear offers that solve a specific problem and taking the guesswork out of it for them and letting them know why they need to say yes, why you thought of them, and why they need to say yes now is really some work that we can do to make our offers sell easier. And the other thing is being direct. Again, like a lot of times people think they have like an online business, right? And it's like, not, you know, I don't even know if there's such a thing as an online business. Like it's just business and we do it online the same as we used to do it like in hotel rooms or whatever. And so to me, it's like, you can't just hint around and pepper the internet with your stuff, your wares, and then hope people see it and hope they're compelled to buy. You've got to be willing to go in direct and directly invite people to say yes to you, right? Schedule. I don't do sales calls so much anymore, but I'm no stranger to emailing people and saying, hey, I have like this coming up. I've got 10 slots. 13 of you are getting this email and here's the price to pay. You know what I'm saying? Very, very direct. That money loves speed and clarity and directness, boldness.
I love it. So the limiters, how many are available and how and when it needs to be claimed by. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and
it's your
also
hit
not,
list. I love your whole idea of the hit list. So you just have a list of prospects that have worked with you in the past, or you've heard no from them, and that is your
or
priming the
maybe
pump.
I think they should be buying from me, right? Like,
Yes.
I mean, you figure I grew this entire organization that now spans the world by literally picking people out. When I made my first hit list, that first Women Who Wow meeting, I looked through and a few advertorials, and I looked for women entrepreneurs who were buying ads, i.e., they were invested in their business, they're buying ads multiple months, right? I didn't want the one hit wonders. And I just sent them a print invite, right? They didn't know me, I didn't know them, but I wanted them in my tribe. And so, yeah, the hit list has people that should be working with me that maybe have expressed interest before. Maybe they're liking all my Facebook posts. Or sometimes I'll literally go in. I still use Aweber. It's my initial little, content management system. And sometimes I'll go in there if I'm like struggling on a hit list, then I'll go in there and I'll like, who opens my messages more than once, right?
Right.
And I'll like write down their email and I'll send them something. I could definitely create a segment and send it out. And I do those things. But
Yes.
there's something better about people being invited personally. And the bigger you are in your reputation or stature in the industry, the more that has a result, right? There's nobody who's too small or too big that people wouldn't feel appreciative for being invited.
So true. I do the same thing.
Do you?
A lot of people do. I do. You and I are so similar. So many people don't do this. They think, oh, if I just post one time, but no one bought. It's like, no, you have to do it every day. Like you have to want it. You have to be hungry.
Right. And you know
Yeah.
what? Like, call me crazy, but I don't trust Mark Zuckerberg with my business. I don't trust his benevolence towards me to show
Yes.
my stuff to everybody. I always start with the assumption that nobody's going to see it unless I put it in front of them, right?
Yeah, it's
I
good.
mean, and I post on social media really because it's easy for me. Like that's where
Yes.
my oldest now works with me in the business full time. So like, that's where she
Cool.
takes it and she does whatever she does with it. But to me, I'm never going to rely on people just happenstance to see my stuff. I assume no one's going to see it. And so, yeah, I'll put it up there and then I'll be like, Amanda, I thought you might like this. Here, here's the link. I promote my own stuff. And to me, I think that
Yes.
because you've been at this a long time like I have, right? Like,
Mhm.
so where people have gotten off track, and you can imagine people say coming into business in 2016, 2017, and they're
Yeah,
always looking for scale. And I'm like, honey, you don't have anything to scale yet,
right.
right? What are you scaling? And to me, most of my scale has been built on doing the unscalable stuff.
Mhm. Old school.
Old school all the way.
Old school. It really works. I love it. So are you mainly on Facebook or do you do other social media platforms as well?
Yeah, personally, I actually engage on Facebook. I am in other places too. I know I have an Instagram account that Summer runs and Twitter maybe,
Uh-huh.
LinkedIn, but I don't really hang out there. I only am there on Facebook. And I'm just never going to like I just read this article in Women's Health magazine actually, and it's the title is The Influencers Aren't Okay. And it talked about like these people who are like the bigger names on all the social channels and they're really just struggling because like 2 days off means 40% decline in this and they're getting paid less and like I just
Mhm.
still is like I love the Zoom. I love
Right.
the doors that this is open, but I'm never going to depend on social media for money, right? Like to bring
Right.
me clients. I'm going to show up there because it's best practice, but I'm going to continue to do my old school um, tactics.
That's good. Okay, so how do we get cash certainty?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's so critical. And I mean, I had an event, I'll never forget this because it was my event and it was in Texas. And I had a speaker on stage that I had invited to be there, and I loved her. And she was teaching about how like the ebbs and flows of cash and the feast and famine was like a necessary part of business. And I was really appalled. And because the truth is, I've never had a year that went below the previous year ever. And I make it
Wow.
an intention to not do that. Right. And whenever I've experienced a feast or famine, it was because um, I would like push, push, push to promote something, and then I'd have to serve those people. So I'd not promote. So of course, right, when my marketing wasn't consistent, my money wasn't consistent. And
Right.
so I definitely think that cash certainty is something that we can all have and can create for ourselves. It's like a brick by brick kind of thing. And so the
Mhm.
first thing I think is to defy any expectation of feast or famine. Cash certainty. The coolest thing about being an entrepreneur is I don't have to go into my savings account, right? Like I don't have to if I need something. Like my daughter just got married last weekend, or and 2 weekends before that, I bought a new car. Like I don't have to go into savings, right? I'm gonna build a herd, right? I'm gonna think up something to sell. And I'm going to do that, right? So the truth is, you can always like you can create cash at will in your business if you're willing to put in the time to build a relationship with the market, to generate demand for your voice, right? The truth is, we are not a culture without a lot of options and a lot of different people they can learn from.
Right.
If you will put in the time to speak with your market regularly so they know your voice first, right? And then
Mhm.
they demand it. They want to have your take on whatever it is they're considering doing. Then at that point, you can build in a rhythm in your business to where the cash flow is not just consistent and certain, but you can create it at will. Like if you need a swimming pool or a new car or a wedding or whatever, right? It can all be just kind of build to the market. So I think that the first thing is like knowing that it's possible. The second thing is making sure above anything that is being sold today or touted in 3 years or 5 years about what it takes to make money, you've got to generate demand for your voice in whatever industry you're in so that people are starting to look for you as an advisor.
Mhm. How would you specifically help someone command the demand of their voice?
Yeah. So, so the first thing is like understanding who you are to your market, right? So I'm doing a new program called Profit Fast, and week 2 is all about who you get to be in your market, right? And I am in the circles and I travel in the different circles that I do, largely because from the itty bitty like infancy of my career, I just acted like I belonged, right? And growing up, my mom would always say like, she puts on her pants at one leg at a time, just like you know what I'm saying? Like, I just
Uh-huh.
got that drilled in. And so when I go into a room, I'll never forget, like, I was in this room, a small room with Damon John, right? And other notables. And I'm like the nobody of the room, but there's certain things I don't do. I don't ask for autographs. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't stand in line. Like, to me, it's like I'm always going to show up as an equal. That has nothing to do with my
Mm,
ego. I don't care about celebrity. I don't care about fame, but I do care about being seen as an equal, right? I do
that's
care
cool.
about coming in and acting like I belong. And so from the ittiest bittiest thing, like I'll never forget, I was in this room with Damon John, and before I knew it, his bodyguard's like, "Hey, Damon wanted me to come and see who you were. Why? Because nobody else knew who I was."
Mhm.
Right? Like, I was like the unknown in the room, but I just act like I belong. I act like I'm one of them. And so, so I think the first thing is definitely mindset. The second thing is understanding that whoever you go to your market as, they will likely believe you, right? I never recommend lying about anything, income, lifestyle, any of that. But who you choose to be to your market, there's no moral or ethical obligation to start as like this like toddler if you really have
Yeah.
the expertise and chops to come in at the top.
Yes.
And I think that's a big thing. People are always kind of starting there and like trying to pay to be in rooms. I've never done that. Never will.
Mhm.
Pay to be associated. Never done that. Never will. And they feel like they have to do this until. And I'm like, until what? Like, no one's going to come in and christen you the top of your industry.
Right.
You're gonna have to crown yourself and polish that crown with
Yes.
sweat, right? Like, no one's gonna deem you that. So I think
Yep.
that's the first thing. But then, and again, like, have the chops, right? So wherever you are, own where you are and be the best at that,
Mhm.
and
It's
then
like
move
your
up.
picture in the back
Yeah,
behind you.
I
It's like
painted
that.
that
Crown yourself.
myself.
You did?
I
Oh, I
did.
love it. Great painting.
I'm so proud of myself for that. I am so not like artistic or
You did
creative.
it.
So I'm
Wow,
really
you
proud.
are
Thank
so,
you.
yeah, exactly. Crown yourself. No one's going to christen you, ladies. And
Nope.
then you have to do it yourself. So I love this. Okay. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
I
that's
love what you're
okay.
saying. Like you have to do it. So it was so helpful that you had your mom giving you that. You had that
Oh yeah.
amazing formation. So that's it. You show up as if, and that's
Yeah, and then
amazing.
you show up though with value, right? Like you show up with value and you take the pulpit. So I'm big on messaging every day, right? Like showing
Yes.
up and messaging every day and going to market, even when you think no one's paying attention. Oh my
Right.
God, woman, like people are paying attention, and what you create today will be infinitely more valuable in 3 years, right? When you can say, "Hey,
Mhm.
I wrote this in 2023 and you look amazing," right? So like now it's like I'm like, "Hey, I wrote this in 2010, but it still applies." And now I look like I'm super smart, right? So
Right.
show up every day, take the pulpit as the leader that you are, right?
Mhm.
And prescribe from a strictly like marketing standpoint, right? Like if you really want to create that demand for your voice, like you've got to be confident in your assessment and prescription, right? So it's
Right.
like I'm a crunchy granola kind of person health
Mhm.
wise, right? So like I I've done a lot of marketing for doctors and different pharmaceuticals. So I don't fall for the white coat syndrome, but there's something to it, right? Like when
Right.
somebody is prescribing something to you, we tend to say yes. And so
Mhm.
I've like, from a strictly marketing standpoint, to create that respect and demand and preference for your voice, you've got to be willing to assess and prescribe, whether it's one to many when you're on a stage or one to one in a sales conversation or even in a written blog post. Like, say, hey, if you're experiencing X, Y, and Z, here's what I prescribe here's what I
Oh, that's
recommend,
good.
right? It's taking that leadership role in your language so that people feel confident saying yes, right? A lot of times we think people are ignoring us, ghosting us, or saying no to us because we're not enough, or they don't think we're fancy enough or professional enough or something about us. But largely, they've got kind of burned and bruised fingers, right? Like they've bought things before and they haven't followed through. They need to be certain. And so
Yes.
for them to say yes to you, you've got to hold that certainty for them.
That's so good. That is really good. And the white coat, I mean, that's all psychology. So exactly,
Yep.
being the prescriber. So when you message daily, do you batch this or do you wake up and you write daily? You have a habit of writing daily.
Yeah, I used to batch it. The truth is, I'm a writer. My entire business is kind of like a ruse, right? Like that I created so I could get paid to write. And I learned early that even New York Times bestselling authors don't make a lot of money off of books. So I'm like, well, I'm a writer, but I ain't going to do that, right?
Uh-huh.
I got to figure out another way. But I wake up and there's nothing against batching. I used to do it. For me, I kind of have a new philosophy on that, like, especially because there's so much content online now. I
Right.
look at it as a little bit like that biblical story of manna, right? Like today's
Mhm.
manna is for today and it rots at night. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes. I love
so
that.
I wake up and my members get something called the entrepreneurial espresso. It's served up hot and fresh every morning. And I actually do write that every single morning. It's the first thing I do when I wake up. It's just a little like kick in the pants, fire in the soul
Mhm.
kind of thing. And then I go to my market. I do my Bible and I journal and I walk and then I'll do a public message. So for me, I actually like it to be hot and fresh. And
Mhm.
I might change my mind on that a year from now, but for years I did batch it. And but now all I do is market Women Who Wow. So I don't have a lot else, pulling on my time.
Mhm.
But yeah, there's
Then
nothing
do you
wrong with that.
distribute it or does your daughter who works on your team, does she distribute it?
Yeah, I actually type my entrepreneurial espresso straight into Aweber, so nobody touches that but me.
Mhm.
And the rest I put into Facebook or YouTube or something like that, and then she distributes it.
That's great. So inspiring. Okay. Well, I think we covered it. So what would you tell the women and men watching if they see you and they see that you're women that wow and everything that you do, like how would you inspire them that they can do this too?
Oh my gosh. I want to inspire everyone. And, to me, I am, there's literally nothing special about me. And this is not like me with a self-esteem issue. It is like I am 46 years old. I grew up blue collar in a very rural town. I still live in a very rural town. I'm married to a public school teacher. I had no like inheritance, nobody, no like trust fund, nothing like
Yeah.
that, no connections. I don't live in a city where I'd get connections. And so to me, it's like if I can grow this online like empire, literally that spans the world, which was never my goal. United States is always my goal. The other countries just sound cool, to be honest with you. I'm totally fine if it ends up just being the United States. But it's like if I can do this, guys, oh, anybody can do it, right? Like you just have to know what you want. If one person can do it, you can do it. If I can
Yes.
do it, anyone can do it. And you just have to be relentless in showing up and backing yourself, right? Showing up and doing the work.
So good. Amen. So how can we get in touch with you and obviously follow you and see all your posts, see if she's really doing it,
I'm
okay?
doing it. Yeah. So actually, you can go to tribeofdrivenwomen.com, and that has all my free stuff, right? It's like a way to message me privately. I do
Okay.
have one autoresponder there, but other than that, it's always going to be me responding. It has like what you can expect from me on Instagram, what you can expect from me on Facebook, is all the links there. And that would be a great place to start with me, along with like my
Mhm.
freebies.
Okay, wonderful. What an inspiration. I love that you've been doing this for so long. I hope everyone watching, you can comment and share what was your number one takeaway from learning from Michelle. She's been in this industry since it sounds like 1999-ish, maybe
Yeah.
2000.
Yeah. 2000.
And rolling with some old dogs that are very like the masters of the marketing age that we're in and has a lot of wisdom. So it's been such a gift for me to be able to be here with you. So thank you so much for sharing with us.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you so much for
yeah,
having me. It was such an honor to be here.
Amen. All right. So you guys go ahead and follow Michelle at the tribeofdrivenwomen.com. And also, if you're interested in joining the Speak and Grow Rich Masterclass or Speak and Grow Rich Challenge, it is coming up soon. All right. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.